Welcome back, everybody. So my next movie review for you is The Seventh Day. So The Seventh Day is a 2021 movie directed by Justin P. Lang, starring Guy Pearce, Vadia Darbes, something along those lines, Stephen Lang, plus many others. So in this movie, we follow a rookie priest who arrives for his first day of training with a renowned exorcist, and they then go off to investigate a possible demon possession of a small boy. Now, yesterday morning, I was flicking through Netflix, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a watch, okay? And I read the synopsis, and I went, okay, this could be something slightly different here, and it sparked my interest to actually watch this movie. Okay, now the reason why I watched this movie is because I was watching something else prior to that, which will become apparent later on in this movie review. So I went into this and I was just like that, okay, here we go. The problem with Exorcist kind of style movies is they all have a very, very familiar tone. And what drew me in is the fact that they were suggesting that there's something different going on in this movie. And I have to be honest with you, this movie is extremely predictable, to the point where it took me 0.1% of my own brain to figure out this movie within the first 10 minutes of watching it, because it felt familiar, very familiar, okay? There is no originality into this plot, and the reason for this is that prior, about an hour before watching this movie, I've actually been watching the 2 series of The Exorcist, which was on Amazon, which has now got cancelled after season 2. And the reason why it felt so familiar, and the reason why there's a massive lack of original plot, is because when I was watching this movie, the plot is exactly the same, pretty much, as the Exorcist series. They pretty much ripped it off. Okay, you don't get to see it in detail because this movie is what, an hour and 30 minutes, and the series is a series of 10 episodes. Okay, so they delved a little bit more into depth with it in the series, but in this movie, they basically took that plot and stuck it into this movie, and there was just no originality in here. Okay, because it just felt that familiar from the get-go, from the start, pretty much 10 minutes in, you're just like this. I can see where this is going to go, and the only reason why I carried on watching that movie is to prove that point to myself, okay? And I was 100% right. Now, I'm not going to give any spoilers away on this movie in any way, shape, or form, because if you generally want to go and watch it, you know, go off and watch it. There's going to be some people that actually enjoy this movie, but for me, because of the lack of the originality of the plot and the predictability is the reason why I didn't get a lot of enjoyment from watching this movie. Yeah, I could sit down there and watch it again. So let me put this in a different light for you. If I had not watched the Exorcist series, the 2 series, before watching this movie, okay, I would have enjoyed this movie a lot more. Okay, because one, I wouldn't have known about this plot line. Okay, they don't go into huge depth with it, but they do suggest something that I've already seen an hour before in a completely different series, okay? And they are not connected in any way, shape, or form. Now, performances in this movie, okay, are okay. And they are okay. Guy Pearce in this movie isn't too bad. I felt for the first half of this movie you don't get to see enough of him, but they do make up for that towards the end of the movie. But I generally liked his performance on screen. You know, again, not trying to give anything away just in case you haven't seen it, but he was probably the one performance at the whole of this movie which I really kind of enjoyed in a certain respect. Now, Vadia Darbes' character in here felt really kind of off. It almost, you know, knowing that he's acting, he actually felt like he was nervous while making this movie, because it just felt really kind of, you know, stuttery, kind of nervous until you get towards the end where he kind of comes into his own. But he's not a bad performance. It's just, it felt a bit twitchy to start off with. You know, he felt really like he was nervous saying the lines, so to speak, and there wasn't a lot of kind of depth to his character as such. He didn't really give that depth to you. He does and he doesn't. He just felt really off at the start of this movie, and then he kind of got better as the movie went on. Okay. Other parts of this movie, yes, there are some pretty brutal death scenes in here. Again, predictable. Because I watched the Exorcist series, I could see it coming. But if you haven't seen it, you'd be going, like, okay, this is different and all that. Supporting performances in here are questionable in certain areas. I was just like that. Wow, my God. Here we go. What is this? And it just felt like very, very forced, bad acting. Especially from there's a criminal psychologist in this one. And there's a bit in this kind of prison penitentiary where, again, not giving too much away. And there's a scene with him just before he dies, to be fair, and he's just like, wow, that's some pretty shocking acting. I think I could do better myself. And that's the kind of feel I get from the supporting actors. Again, it's just something that I picked up on. It's something I noticed. I don't hate this movie, okay? I don't hate it. It sounds like I'm hounding on it. It's just that plot, okay, really is a bugbear for me. Like I said, you get to see plenty of demon possession kind of activity like we've seen before and all that kind of stuff, which does kind of make the movie a little bit more interesting. There is a very good when I say it's a very good twist, it's not. It's a predictable twist for me because I watched it in the Exorcist series, so I kind of knew that was coming in every single way. And there are certain moments where I just felt my concentration lapsing in this movie. There's a scene with Stephen Lang, and he's talking to this young priest, and the dialogue for that, him talking to that, must have been about 2 minutes, and I was just like that. Are you still talking? Come on! I zoned out through this one scene, and sometimes throughout certain parts of this movie, you're just like that. Your concentration lapsed. My concentration lapsed. And it kind of took away the enjoyment. You lose your concentration. If I lose my concentration while watching this movie or any movie, then it's never really going to get a good review. But I will give this. I can only give this a 4 out of 10. Okay, that predictable plot line is the biggest bugbear for me in this movie, okay, because they blatantly ripped it off from the Exorcist series, okay. They didn't go into depth with it, but they suggested, you know, certain elements of the Exorcist series, and it was a blatant rip-off. There was no really any kind of originality into the plot or the script, okay. It's quite obvious somebody watched this series and went, we're going to take that idea and we're just going to put it in this movie. Everybody's forgotten about those 2 Exorcist series because it got cancelled after the 2nd season. But when you've just watched it, it's there right in front of you, and it literally is extremely predictable for me anyway. I figured this movie out and the outcome and the twist within first 10-15 minutes, and that's the reason why I can only give this a 4 out of 10. There are going to be people out there that actually generally enjoy this movie. There is, okay, and I know it sounds like I was really hounding on it, but got to remember, an hour beforehand I was watching something which is pretty much exactly the same. Okay, so that's the only reason why I can give it a 4 out of 10. That with some poor acting in certain areas of this movie kind of really numbed it down for me. So on that note, please tell me what you think. Put it in the comments down below as normal. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing. Please take care and goodbye.